Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. The Game Awards of 2018 are upon us, finally, and the nominees are out and the votes are coming through, and they actually might have forgotten a pretty big game. Smash JT. Geoff Keighley, the guy who runs the Game Awards, it's kind of his thing, and tries to make it a professional outing for the game industry, and I definitely respect what he's doing to try to be on par with the Oscars and the movie industry, but the video game industry, while still entertainment, is completely different from what movies are, and this is a really good case for that. Anyone who may not have noticed when you were voting for the actual Game Awards for 2018, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is nowhere to be found. It's not listed as best game, which is understandable because there's a lot of really good games in competition, so I get that. It's not listed for best role-playing game, which is fairly questionable seeing as Ni no Kuni 2 is there, and at least personally I didn't feel like that was up to snuff in comparison, but according to Metacritic it got an 84%, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 got an 83%. Not that that means anything, but if they were trying to pick one out of the two, they were very close there. So I understand it not showing up if it got pushed out of not fitting into the category because they had to limit the amount of entries for Best RPG. But not listing it for Best Score or Music? This is one of the best games ever created with the soundtrack to match, and I for one am completely shocked it is not listed as best soundtrack.
How far would I be walking till I reach the end of the path that's to be seen? I would keep.
Now, I'm not saying it would have won because it's about what opinions are and what people think should win, and Octopath Traveler did a really good job with its soundtrack as well, so I'm not saying it should have won. But if I were voting for it, I would vote for Best Soundtrack Xenoblade Chronicles 2. People might hear it and say, well, the reason it's not in there is because it came out last year in 2017 and they're voting on the 2018 games right now. But you have to remember the Video Game Awards go back into mid-November of the previous year so that those games are considered because the actual Video Game Awards ceremony is in December of the following year. For whatever reason, it really should be pushed back to January to avoid that whole cluster of a situation. But be as it may, the game came out December 1st. And they forgot to put it on the actual nominations. And people might hear me say that and say, oh, I'm just pissed off that they forgot to do it. Well, Geoff Keighley made a tweet that made a lot of people wonder if he's noticing that they forgot to put it as well. And if you read the actual responses on Twitter to this tweet, not only is it hysterical, but it definitely gives an indication that the vast majority of people out there agree with me that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 definitely deserves a spot in at least being recognized as best musical score, because the game has an incredible soundtrack. And Monolith, the game company that actually made this, they're a small company. People don't know this about them, but they're about 40 people that make up Monolith. And they could get some recognition out of this, but instead they're choosing to nominate other bigger companies for their games for whatever reason. You may think I need a tinfoil hat while I'm saying this conspiracy theory, but it feels like the Game Awards are less of an actual award ceremony and more of a reveal ceremony, like a mid-year E3 type thing. Like 6 months from E3, they do the Video Game Awards, and it's a way for publishers to announce games without waiting an entire full 12 months for the next E3. They use this as a mid-gap stop. And I know Nintendo is going to be revealing a lot of things, just like they typically do. Metroid Prime 4 is almost assured to have a trailer at the Video Game Awards, which is probably going to break the internet when it happens. Reggie basically said it wearing the shirt. And honestly, I'm excited about it, but I'd rather a video game award ceremony be more focused on the actual awards instead of turning it into some commercialized thing where they're selling ad spots to these companies and promoting games throughout it and giving these big pep talks about what you should be playing going forward and why this is a hot game, and interviewing developers of their games, of why they're good games. If you want to make the video game award ceremony actually professional, you need to cut the fat and just talk about the awards. Let the winners come up, and as much as I don't really like the Oscars, movie industry does it a hell of a lot better than what the video game industry does. At this point right now, the game industry awards are a joke. It's something that people watch trying to find out what's actually coming out, and people don't even care what's winning anymore. And that defeats the entire purpose of the ceremony in the first place. But I digress. My point of this video is they did not put Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as a nominee. And Geoff Keighley basically acknowledged that they forgot to put it on the nominee list. And that basically exposes the entire ceremony as something you can't take seriously going forward. And that really hurts to say, because I want the thing to be successful, but the more I watch of it, the more it seems like it's just a big joke.
Fuck the Oscars, you know? Fuck the Oscars! Fuck you! I'll tell you!
Yes, the video game industry is different. Yes, it's not the movie industry. Yes, you gotta be loose and have fun and not be so uptight with everything. But at the same time, you also want to recognize the hardworking creators of these games. And when you snub creators because you forgot whatever system in place you have, where you actually poll writers and poll actual editors from magazines and say what games are your favorites and which ones aren't, it blows my mind that you missed out on one of the biggest hits ever. It's almost like people didn't know that you could dig into last year to put the game in this year's category. Even though they should know that, because Xenoblade Chronicles 1 actually won Best RPG of the Year, and that came out on December 1st of 2015 for the 2016 show. So I'm just wondering if people were just having a little too much fun with the cocktails, figuring out what they want to actually vote for this year, and didn't even think that they could vote for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 this time around. It's very frustrating to me, if you can't tell. Anyways, those are my initial thoughts on the actual nominees for the Video Game Award ceremony. I'm sure I'll make another video in the future, because other publishers and developers that go on stage, I'm sure will make a fool of themselves, and I'm gonna have to talk about that too. But let me know what you guys think about this. Am I going crazy here? Should Xenoblade Chronicles 2 be on the list? Or should it be whatever these writers are saying, because it's their profession and they are the ones that seemingly know what the best games are? I don't know. As far as the industry is concerned, the Video Game Award ceremony, yes, it's good to give recognition to all of these different developers, but at the same time, there's so many freaking great games out there. You can't just give credit to every single one of them, and it's really hard to narrow it down to 5? I mean, I get Hollywood blockbusters because there's only a few of those a year, but with games, indie games, to me at least, can sometimes stand up to AAA titles. Not always, but you look at games like Celeste, and you're like, damn, that game's a lot of fun to play. And then you look at Red Dead Redemption 2 and you're like, damn, that game's a lot of fun to play. Which one's better? Just because Red Dead Redemption 2 has better graphics and storyline, that makes it a better game? What if you actually have more fun with the gameplay of an indie title? So that's why the entire thing of the game show is just, it's really hard for me to fathom how they could actually make this all one big conglomerate of a show, but they're doing it, and at least it's moving the industry forward in a positive light. But damn, missing out on Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for best soundtrack, that's just a huge misstep. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a good one. Smash,